Hey everyone! So have you ever wanted to understand someone better, maybe even impress them with a few thoughtful questions that reveal the hidden layers of their personality? Today, we're diving deep into psychology and sharing 6 questions you can ask a man that'll not only get him thinking, but may leave a lasting impression. Trust me, this is going to be good. Stick around. Host. All right, let's get into it. You know how we all tend to have conversations, right? Casual talks about work, life, maybe even a bit of small talk about the weather. But how often do you dive into real, meaningful discussions? How often do you really get to know someone? What if you could ask just a few questions that would reveal parts of their personality that even they don't show every day? Host. Now, I'm not talking about those generic questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm talking about questions that tap into deeper parts of their psyche, questions that make them pause, think, and maybe even surprise themselves. Sounds interesting, right? Let's get into the psychology behind this and why these questions are so powerful. Host. So, question number 1. This is a big one. What's the most meaningful thing you've ever learned in life? This one hits hard, doesn't it? You see, when you ask this, you're not just asking for an opinion, you're asking them to reflect on their entire existence, on their journey, and that's a big deal. Think about it. Everyone has lessons. They've learned, some through struggles, some through triumphs. This question forces them to consider what shaped them, what moments mattered most, and what really stuck with them. And when a man opens up about this, it creates this unexpected bond of trust and respect. Host. Now, why is this such a game changer? Well, studies show that when people share personal stories, especially ones that have shaped them, it actually activates their mirror neurons, making them feel more connected to the person asking the question. So when you ask this, you're inviting them to get vulnerable, and vulnerability is a superpower in any relationship. Host. All right, let's talk about something a little more introspective. Here's another question. If you could change one thing about the way you were raised, what would it be and why? Now, this question is fascinating. It taps into something deep, their childhood, their core beliefs, and possibly even some of the things they struggle with. It's a subtle way of asking them to think about how their upbringing has shaped their personality, their choices, and even their interactions with others. Plus, it opens the door to understanding any unspoken struggles or unmet needs they may have had growing up, and it also gives them a chance to talk about how far they've come or how they'd like to improve. Host. People, especially men, don't always talk about their childhood unless asked directly. It's one of those areas that's sometimes tough to go into. But when you ask this question, it creates a safe space to open up, and you'll often hear something totally unexpected that will give you a whole new perspective on them. Host. All right, moving on to something a little different but equally powerful. Ask them, what's something you're really passionate about, but you rarely talk about? This question is gold. Why? Because everyone has something they care about deeply, something that lights a fire inside them, but not everyone shares it. This could be a hobby, a cause, or even an idea that they just don't have a lot of people to talk to about. When you ask this, you're giving them an opportunity to dive into something they don't often get to share. It shows you're genuinely curious about their interests and gives them a chance to express themselves more fully. Host. And here's why it works. Passion is contagious. When someone talks about something they truly love, it's not just the topic that's engaging, it's their energy. You can feel their enthusiasm. It's magnetic. And when they get to share that with you, you're not just learning about them, you're also showing that you value their passions and interests, no matter how small or big they might seem. Host. Now for the next question. This one's a little unconventional but so effective. If you knew you could never fail, what would you do with your life? Think about it for a second. This question forces them to imagine a world without fear or limitations. It's a question about their deepest desires, their boldest dreams, and their potential. In psychology, we call this a future self question. It taps into the hope, the courage, and the aspiration they might not always talk about, because, let's face it, we all have fears about failing. But when you take failure off the table, it's like a whole new world opens up. Host. This question is empowering. It challenges them to think outside the box, to stop playing it safe, and to imagine a life with no boundaries. And let me tell you, when they start dreaming big like this, whether it's starting a business, traveling the world, or even pursuing a crazy artistic idea, it's exciting to hear about. You get to see a side of them that's full of ambition and hope. Host. All right. Question number 5 is another deep dive into personality. What do you think is the most important thing in a friendship? Now, why does this matter? It's simple. How a man values his friendships can tell you a lot about his character. Whether he places trust, loyalty, or shared experiences at the top, this question gives you insight into his core values. It also shows you how he views relationships, whether they're casual or deeply meaningful, and of course, it can spark a deeper conversation about your own friendships too. Host. Friendships are an essential part of life, and understanding what someone values in them gives you a peek into their heart and how they connect with others. It's a powerful way to gauge the kind of person they are when no one's watching. Host. And finally, here's a question that might just surprise you. What's your biggest fear, and how do you cope with it? Now, this is a big one, because it gets to the heart of what scares him. We all have fears, whether it's fear of failure, rejection, or not living up to our potential. But the real question here is how we cope with those fears. Do we let them define us, or do we rise above them? When you ask this question, it invites him to open up about vulnerabilities, about the things that he might not normally share. It's a chance for him to reflect on how he handles challenges and what keeps him going, even when things get tough. Host. So, why is this the final question? Because it's the most revealing. It shows you not just who he is on the surface, but how he navigates the storms in life. And if he trusts you enough to open up about this, you've built something meaningful. Host. So there you have it. 6 powerful questions that can transform a simple conversation into something meaningful. These aren't just any questions, they're designed to open up deeper levels of connection, to reveal what's really going on inside, and to leave a lasting impression. So the next time you're having a conversation with a man, remember, these questions, they'll not only get him thinking, but they'll also help you connect on a much deeper level. You never know, the right question at the right time might just change everything. Host. Thanks for watching. If you found these questions helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more insightful content. Until next time, keep the conversations real.